Okay, tonight is the 1st of August, 2010, and we come to Sutta number 32, Majjhima Nikaya, Gosinga Sutta, the greater discourse in Gosinga. Thus have I heard, on one occasion the Blessed One was living in the park of the Gosinga Sala tree wood, together with a number of very well-known elder disciples, the Venerable Sariputta, the Venerable Moggallana, the Venerable Kassapa, the Venerable Anuruddha, the Venerable Revata, the Venerable Ananda, and other very well-known elder disciples. Then when it was evening, the Venerable Moggallana rose from meditation, went to the Venerable Kassapa and said to him, "Friend Kassapa, let us go to the Venerable Sariputta to listen to the Dhamma." "Yes, friend," the Venerable Kassapa replied. Then the Venerable Moggallana, the Venerable Kassapa, and the Venerable Anuruddha went to the Venerable Sariputta to listen to the Dhamma. The Venerable Ananda saw them going to the Venerable Sariputta to listen to the Dhamma. Thereupon he went to the Venerable Revata and said to him, "Friend Revata, those true men are going to the Venerable Sariputta to listen to the Dhamma. Let us also go to the Venerable Sariputta to listen to the Dhamma." "Yes, friend," the Venerable Revata replied. Then the Venerable Revata and the Venerable Ananda went to the Venerable Sariputta to listen to the Dhamma. Stop here for a moment. As you all know by now, when the sun sets, the Buddha's disciples, they would normally go to the most senior monk and discuss the Dhamma. So in this case, you see all the famous Arahants, Moggallana, Kassapa, Anuruddha, Ananda, Revata, all went to the Venerable Sariputta. It shows that the Venerable Sariputta is considered the the eldest disciple of the senior most disciple of the Buddha. He usually sits on the Buddha's right hand side, and Venerable Moggallana will sit on the left hand side. These two are the right and left hand disciples of the Buddha. In the suttas, the Buddha always praised the Venerable Sariputta as one of the greatest wisdom of all his disciples. Venerable Sariputta has the greatest wisdom. Also, the Buddha calls him the son of the Dhamma king, the son of the Buddha, in the sense that he turns the Dhamma wheel, the Buddha says, exactly like the Buddha. So everyone had great respect for Venerable Sariputta. But unfortunately, in the later years, because this Venerable Devadatta, he strayed off and he caused a schism of the Sangha. And so the Buddha asked the Venerable Sariputta and the Venerable Moggallana to go and inform the lay people that this Venerable Devadatta is no more a disciple, not considered a disciple of the Buddha anymore. Whatever he says has nothing to do with the Buddha. So because of that, this Devadatta's and his disciples all got very angry with Venerable Sariputta. So from there, you can understand why later books like the Mahayana books, of all the Arahants, they pick on Sariputta and put down Venerable Sariputta, always try to disgrace him as a monk with no psychic power and all these things, and try to belittle his wisdom. For example, Vimalakirti Sutra, they say that his wisdom is inferior to the Bodhisattvas, Manjushri and the Vimalakirti. And also because he had no psychic power, this Devi rained down flowers on his robe, he could not even shake it off. So in various other ways they try to belittle him, but actually he's the most respected of the Buddha's disciples. The Venerable Sariputta saw the Venerable Revata and the Venerable Ananda coming in the distance and said to the Venerable Ananda, "Let the Venerable Ananda come. Welcome to the Venerable Ananda, the Blessed One's attendant, who is always in the Blessed One's presence. Friend Ananda, the Gosinga Sala tree wood is delightful. The night is moonlit. The Sala trees are all in blossom, and heavenly scents seem to be floating in the air. What kind of monk, friend Ananda, could illuminate the Gosinga Sala tree wood?" I'll stop here for a moment. This Venerable Ananda is the Buddha's attendant in the latter half of the Buddha's ministry. Because he served as an attendant to the Buddha very satisfactorily, so the Buddha retained him for a long time as his attendant. Whereas before Venerable Ananda, there were many other attendant monks on attending to the Buddha, but after some time the Buddha will change them. But Venerable Ananda attended to the Buddha the longest. So Venerable Ananda was praised by Venerable Sariputta. So Venerable Sariputta asked Venerable Ananda, "What kind of monk could illuminate the Gosinga Sala tree wood? I would be worthy of this Sala, of this wood." And he replied, "Here, friend Sariputta, a monk has learned much, remembers what he has learned, and consolidates what he has learned. Such teachings as are good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good in the end, with the right meaning and phrasing, and which affirm a holy life that is utterly perfect and pure. Such teachings as these he has learned much of, remembered, mastered verbally, investigated with the mind, and penetrated well by view. And he teaches the Dhamma to the four assemblies with well-rounded and coherent statements and phrases for the eradication of the underlying tendencies. That kind of monk could illuminate this Gosinga Sala tree wood." When this was said, the Venerable Sariputta addressed the Venerable Revata thus, "Friend Revata, the Venerable Ananda has spoken according to his own inspiration. Now we ask the Venerable Revata, Friend Revata, the Gosinga Sala tree wood is delightful. The night is moonlit. The Sala trees are all in blossom, and heavenly scents seem to be floating in the air. What kind of monk, friend Revata, could illuminate this Gosinga Sala tree wood?" And he replied, "Here, friend Sariputta, a monk delights in solitary meditation and takes delight in solitary meditation. He is devoted to internal serenity of mind, does not neglect meditation, possesses insight, and dwells in empty huts. That kind of monk could illuminate this Gosinga Sala tree wood." When this was said, the Venerable Sariputta addressed the Venerable Anuruddha, "Friend Anuruddha, the Venerable Revata has spoken according to his own inspiration. Now we ask the Venerable Anuruddha, Friend Anuruddha, the Gosinga Sala tree is delightful. What kind of monk, friend Anuruddha, could illuminate this Gosinga Sala tree wood?" And he replied, "Here, friend Sariputta, with the divine eye or heavenly eye, which is purified and surpasses the human, a monk surveys 1,000 worlds, just as a man with good sight, when he has ascended to the upper palace chamber, might survey 1,000 wheel rims. So too with the divine eye, which is purified and surpasses the human, a monk surveys 1,000 worlds. That kind of monk could illuminate this Gosinga Sala tree wood." I'll stop here for a moment. So you see these three monks, these three arahants, maybe at that time Venerable Ananda was not yet an arahant. When they were asked what type of monk would do credit to this Gosinga Sala tree wood, each one answered differently. You notice Venerable Ananda, he says, each one of them actually is speaking of the ideal monk according to them. The Venerable Ananda says that this monk, he has learned much, remembered, mastered verbally, investigated with the mind, and penetrated well by view the teachings of the Buddha, the Dhamma. And he teaches the Dhamma to the four assemblies. So this actually is a characteristic of Venerable Ananda. He has learned much. When you say learn much, means he has learned much of the Dhamma, the Buddha's Dhamma. Sometimes they say he has heard much of the Buddha's Dhamma, and then remembered, and then mastered verbally. That means can repeat. During the Buddha's time, there were no books, so they had to repeat the suttas to transmit from one disciple to another. Investigated with the mind and penetrated well by view. That means understood. And then having understood, he teaches the Dhamma to others. So that is the ideal monk according to Venerable Ananda. And he himself lives up to that ideal. Then the next monk is Venerable Revata. This Venerable Revata is a monk who likes to live in seclusion and meditate all the time. That's why he says the ideal monk, according to him, delights in solitary meditation and takes delight in solitary meditation. He is devoted to internal serenity of mind, does not neglect meditation, and possesses insight, and dwells in empty huts. That means his ideal is a monk who dwells in lonely places and meditates all the time and takes delight in solitary meditation. This is exactly what he does. Then the third monk is Venerable Anuruddha. Venerable Anuruddha says to him, the ideal monk is one who has attained the heavenly eye, divine eye. And with that, he can survey 1,000 world systems. Each world system consists of one sun, one solar system. So his mind has expanded so much, he can see 1,000 worlds like in the palm of his hand. So that is his ideal, and Venerable Anuruddha is exactly like that. When this was said, the Venerable Sariputta addressed the Venerable Mahakassapa thus: Friend Kassapa, the Venerable Anuruddha has spoken according to his own inspiration. Now we ask the Venerable Mahakassapa: Friend Kassapa, the Gosinga Sala tree wood is delightful. What kind of monk, friend Kassapa, could illuminate this Gosinga Sala tree wood? And he answered: Here, friend Sariputta, a monk is a forest dweller himself and speaks in praise of forest dwelling. He is an alms food eater himself and speaks in praise of eating alms food. He is a refuse rag wearer himself and speaks in praise of wearing refuse rag robes. He is a triple robe wearer himself and speaks in praise of wearing the triple robe. He has few wishes himself and speaks in praise of fewness of wishes. He is content himself and speaks in praise of contentment. He is secluded himself and speaks in praise of seclusion. He is aloof from society himself and speaks in praise of aloofness from society. He is energetic himself and speaks in praise of arousing energy. He has attained to virtue himself and speaks in praise of attainment of virtue. He has attained to concentration himself and speaks in praise of the attainment of concentration. He has attained to wisdom himself and speaks in praise of the attainment of wisdom. He has attained to deliverance or liberation himself and speaks in praise of the attainment of deliverance. He has attained to the knowledge and vision of deliverance himself and speaks in praise of the attainment of the knowledge and vision of deliverance. That kind of monk could illuminate this Gosinga Sala tree wood. I stop here for a moment. So here you see, Venerable Mahakassapa, he is ideal monk, practices so many things. One, he's a forest dweller. He likes to live in the forest. And then secondly, he's an alms food eater. He only begs for his food. He refuses to go to lay people's house to eat. Every day he goes to beg for his food. And then he's a refuse rag wearer himself. That means he picks up the cloth from the either what is discarded, what is thrown by people. So either it can be maybe by the roadside or from the rubbish bin or from the cemetery. Because during the Buddha's days, maybe even up to now, when somebody dies, they wrap him in cloth, wrap him in perhaps white cloth, and then they would throw the corpse up in the what they call the charnel ground, kind of cemetery, and there the body would rot, and animals would come and eat. So when these monks who wear refuse robes, they will go and pick up this cloth, and usually the cloth will be stinking, smelly of the corpse, and they have to wash it, put in the sun, and continually wash it and put in the sun until the smell goes away, and they cut it into pieces and sew the robe. That's why the monk's robe, when you look into the monk's robe, it has this pattern like this paddy field. It consists of small pieces of cloth sewn together. That is so there are monks like him. You refuse to accept robes from lay people. You only look for discarded, thrown away cloth which you will use and sew into a robe. That is called the Pangsukula robe, refuse rag robe. And then he has fewness of wishes, very few things that he wants, very few things, because of that he's contented, and then secluded, likes to live in secluded places, and then aloof from society. Even if he has to live in a monastery with other monks, he's aloof from other monks, will not want to talk with other monks. Not like some people in our monastery, Chakabanya, a lot. And then energetic, always putting forth effort to keep his mind recollected. Sati is always remembering our meditation object. Whether it is remembering the breath, observing the breath, or chanting or whatever, Sati is always remembering to keep your attention, your mindfulness there, instead of straying out to the six senses. That is energetic. Attain to virtue, he keeps the precepts or the rules in the Vinaya books for a monk. And then attain to concentration, has attained the jhanas. Attain to wisdom. He understands the Four Noble Truths and the other dharmas. Attain to deliverance, he has attained liberation, has become arahant. So according to Venerable Kassapa, that is the ideal monk. You notice of all the monks, he has a long list here. When this was said, the Venerable Sariputta addressed the Venerable Maha Moggallana thus: Friend Moggallana, the Venerable Maha Kassapa has spoken according to his own inspiration. Now we ask the Venerable Maha Moggallana: Friend Moggallana, the Gosinga Sala tree wood is delightful. What kind of monk, friend Moggallana, could illuminate this Gosinga Sala tree wood? And he answered: Here, friend Sariputta, two monks engaged in a talk on the higher Dhamma, and they question each other, and each being questioned by the other answers without foundering, and their talk rolls on in accordance with the Dhamma. That kind of monk could illuminate this Gosinga Sala tree wood. This Venerable Moggallana is the monk with the greatest psychic power. So when he's asked what kind of monk could illuminate this Gosinga Sala tree wood, instead of saying the monk with all types of psychic power, he says, surprisingly, he says, the monk who can discuss Dhamma and can answer Dhamma without foundering, without wavering, without doubt, and can continue to talk on the Dhamma. So that also shows that he is very knowledgeable in the Dhamma. That's why he can teach other monks. When this was said, the Venerable Maha Moggallana addressed the Venerable Sariputta thus: Friend Sariputta, we have all spoken according to our own inspiration. Now we ask the Venerable Sariputta: Friend Sariputta, the Gosinga Sala tree wood is delightful. The night is moonlit. The Sala trees are all in blossom, and heavenly scents seem to be floating in the air. What kind of monk, Sariputta, friend Sariputta, could illuminate this Gosinga Sala tree wood? And Venerable Sariputta replied: Here, friend Moggallana, a monk wields mastery over his mind. He does not let the mind wield mastery over him. In the morning, he abides in whatever abiding or attainment he wants. He wants to abide in during the morning. At midday, he abides in whatever abiding or attainment he wants to abide in at midday. In the evening, he abides in whatever abiding or attainment he wants to abide in during the evening. Suppose a king or a king's minister had a chest full of variously colored garments. In the morning, he could put on whatever pair of garments he wanted to put on in the morning. At midday, he could put on whatever pair of garments he wanted to put on at midday. In the evening, he could put on whatever pair of garments he wanted to put on in the evening. So too, a monk wields mastery over his mind. He does not let the mind wield mastery over him. In the morning, at midday, in the evening, he abides in whatever abiding or attainment he wants to abide in. That kind of monk could illuminate this Gosinga Sala tree wood. Stop here for a moment. So, Venerable Sariputta says his ideal is the monk who has complete mastery over the mind, and he can abide in whatever abiding or attainment he wants at any time of the day or night. So, actually, Venerable Sariputta, although he does not have psychic power, he has all the jhanas. Unfortunately, later books, they say that he was enlightened by wisdom and that they assume that he did not have any jhanas. But in the later one of the suttas in this Nikaya, Majjhima Nikaya, you will see that he has attained all the 4 rupa jhanas, all the 4 arupas, and I think even cessation of perception and feeling, I think in the Sutta 111. So that's why he has complete mastery over his mind. That's why he has the greatest wisdom of all the monks, disciples of the Buddha. But in spite of that, having attained all the jhanas and having complete mastery over his mind, he does not have psychic power. Psychic power for some monks, when they attain the jhanas, it comes naturally. But for some of them, it does not come naturally. But somebody like Venerable Sariputta, since he has all the jhanas, if he wanted to cultivate psychic power, he could easily attain psychic power. But because somebody like him has already become an arahant, he has no more self, no more ego, so he has no desire to become famous or anything, so he's not bothered with psychic power. Then the Venerable Sariputta addressed those Venerable ones thus: Friends, we have all spoken according to our own inspiration. Let us go to the Blessed One and report this matter to him. As the Blessed One answers, so let us remember it. Yes, friend, they replied. Then those Venerable ones went to the Blessed One, and after paying homage to him, sat down at one side. The Venerable Sariputta said to the Blessed One, Venerable Sir, the Venerable Revata and the Venerable Ananda came to me to listen to the Dhamma. I saw them coming in the distance and said to the Venerable Ananda, Let the Venerable Ananda come. Welcome to the Venerable Ananda, etc. Friend Ananda, the Gosinga Sala tree wood is delightful. What kind of monk, friend Ananda, could illuminate this Gosinga Sala tree wood? When asked, the Venerable Ananda replied, Here, friend Sariputta, a monk has learned much, etc., etc. And so here, instead of reading everything, Venerable Sariputta just repeated what each of the other monks said. So what was read earlier is all repeated here. So he repeated everything up to Venerable Moggallana's reply. When that was said, the Venerable Moggallana told the Blessed One, Then, Venerable Sir, I addressed the Venerable Sariputta thus, Friend Sariputta, etc., etc. What kind of monk could illuminate this Gosinga Sala tree wood? And the Venerable Sariputta replied, Here, friend Moggallana, a monk wields mastery over his mind. He does not let the mind wield mastery over him. In the morning, in the midday, and in the evening, he abides in whatever abiding or attainment he wants to abide in, etc. And the Buddha said, good, Moggallana. Sariputta, speaking rightly, should speak just as he did. For Sariputta wields mastery over his mind. He does not let the mind wield mastery over him. In the morning, he abides in whatever abiding or attainment he wants to abide in during the morning. At midday, he abides in whatever abiding or attainment he wants to abide in at midday. In the evening, he abides in whatever abiding or attainment he wants to abide in during the evening. When this was said, the Venerable Sariputta asked the Blessed One, Venerable Sir, which of us has spoken well? And the Buddha replied, you have all spoken well, Sariputta, each in his own way. Hear also from me, what kind of monk could illuminate this Gosinga Sala tree wood? Hear, Sariputta, when a monk has returned from his alms round, after his meal, he sits down, folds his legs crosswise, sets his body erect, and establishing mindfulness in front of him, resolves, I shall not break this sitting position until, through not clinging, my mind is liberated from the taints. That kind of monk could illuminate this Gosinga Sala tree wood. That is what the Blessed One said. Those Venerable Ones were satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words. That's the end of the sutta. So here, you see the Buddha's ideal is a monk with extreme determination, the utmost determination. So when he sits down, he will not stop sitting until his mind is liberated. That was exactly what the Buddha did on the night of enlightenment. He had struggled for 6 years and he was tired of that struggle already. He decided to sit down, and if he does not become, he will sit until he becomes enlightened, or he will die there sitting. So because of his great determination, then he became enlightened. And also the time was ready after he had finished all his work. This thing we have to remember that our determination, whatever we want, determination is extremely important. The problem is for most people, we have too many desires. When we have too many desires, our energy is scattered over so many desires. We can't really succeed. But somebody like the Buddha, he has only one aim in mind, to become enlightened, nothing else. So all his energy goes towards that, and then he becomes enlightened. I remember there's one sutta, somewhere I read that the Buddha said, when a person's mind is so determined, even the devas cannot obstruct him. So you see, that's what happened with the Buddha. He was so determined to become enlightened that Mara tried to obstruct him so many times. Also, Mara could not succeed. Now the next sutta is number 33, Maha Gopalaka Sutta, the greater discourse on the cowherd. Thus have I heard. This sutta, I think, is also found in the Anguttara Nikaya 11.18. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was living at Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's park. There he addressed the monks thus, Monks, Venerable Sir, they replied, when a cowherd possesses 11 factors, he is incapable of keeping and rearing a herd of cattle. What 11? Here a cowherd has no knowledge of form. He is unskilled in characteristics. He fails to pick out flies' eggs. He fails to dress wounds. He fails to smoke out the sheds. He does not know the watering place. He does not know what it is to have drunk. He does not know the road. He is unskilled in pastures. He milks dry, and he shows no extra veneration to those bulls who are fathers and leaders of the herd. When a cowherd possesses these 11 factors, he is incapable of keeping and rearing a herd of cattle. Let's stop here for a moment. So if a person, a cowherd, he wants to keep and rear a herd of cattle, he must know these 11 things, because he has to buy and sell cattle, and he has to take care of the cattle so that they prosper and multiply. So the first thing, he has no knowledge of form. I guess he does not know how to distinguish the form of this cattle, whether they are strong or weak. For example, if you want to buy good cattle, you must be able to know the form, whether they are strong or weak. Buy the strong ones. And he's unskilled in characteristics, probably. He has to trade in cattle. When he buys, he has to know what is the good breed, what is bad breed. If he buys cattle or bad breed, then he's not going to make much money. Thirdly, he fails to pick out flies' eggs. This flies' eggs, I guess, when this cow or bull, they have a wound, the fly will come and lay eggs there. And then if he doesn't know how to pick out the flies' eggs, the maggots will slowly eat the flesh, and the flesh becomes bigger and bigger. So the cow or the bull may die. So he has to know how to pick out the flies' eggs. He fails to dress wounds. When there's the cattle has a wound, he has to know how to dress the wound. He fails to smoke out the sheds. I guess the cattle sheds once in a while has to be smoked out, so that maybe the bacteria or the insects, whatever, is kind of disinfect the place. He does not know the watering place. If he brings out the cattle to graze, he must know where to look for water. He does not know what it is to have drunk. So he got to know when the cattle have drunk enough and move on. He does not know the road. If he brings a cattle out, he must know the road, where to go and all that. Unskilled in pastures, that means he does not know where you have good pasture, where you have poor pasture. You got to be able to bring the cattle to good pasture. He milks dry. That means when he milks the cows for the milk, he must not milk dry. He must leave some milk there, at least for the calves. He shows no extra veneration to those bulls who are fathers and leaders of the herd. Those old bulls must take special care of them because they are the fathers and leaders of the herd. So when a cowherd possesses these 11 factors, he is incapable of keeping and rearing a herd of cattle. So too monks, when a monk possesses 11 qualities, he is incapable of growth, increase and fulfillment in this Dhamma Vinaya. What 11? Here a monk has no knowledge of form. He is unskilled in characteristics. He fails to pick out flies' eggs. He fails to dress wounds. He fails to smoke out the sheds. He does not know the watering place. He does not know what it is to have drunk. He does not know the road. He is unskilled in pastures. He milks dry, and he shows no extra veneration to those elder monks of long standing who have gone forth, the fathers and leaders of the Sangha. And how has a monk no knowledge of form? Here a monk does not understand as it actually is thus. All material form of whatever kind consists of the 4 great elements, and the material form derived from the 4 great elements. That is how a monk has no knowledge of form. I'll stop here for a moment. This form, rupa, refers to material form, and material form in the Buddha's teaching consists of 4 great elements, earth, water, fire, wind. This earth, water, fire, wind is not exactly earth, water, fire, wind. It's just characteristic. Earth refers to the hardness element. Anything that you feel, you perceive as hard, that is spoken of as the earth element. The water is liquids. That liquids have the characteristic of tending to cohere together. Because we have water in our body, so our body has a certain shape. If we were to take away all the water in our body, we become dust and we will crumble. We have no form. So there's water, and then earth, water, fire. Fire is the heat element. Wind is the motion element. Although In the suttas, we talk about the physical matter and mind. But actually, if you look carefully, this physical matter consisting of the four elements actually is a kind of perception. The perception of hardness, of form or coherence, and then the perception of heat, the perception of motion, all perceptions. So it is not something, because it's a perception, different people can have different perceptions. For example, on a certain day, you might feel hot. I might not feel hot. So your perception is different from mine. So you notice, because it's a perception, actually perception is a type of consciousness. A type of consciousness. So even the physical world is just a perception. It's just a type of consciousness. So that's why the whole world, including the physical world, is actually mind-made. It's mind-made. So for example, if a person had extremely bad karma, and was reborn in hell, and he goes into hell, he finds hell very hot. Everywhere, flames. But if an Arahant were to go and visit hell, Arahant goes into hell, he does not feel hot. So everything is mind-made. Okay, the second one. How is a monk unskilled in characteristics? Here a monk does not understand as it actually is thus. A fool is characterized by his actions. A wise man is characterized by his actions. That is how a monk is unskilled in characteristics. So here it means this monk, he cannot distinguish between a foolish teacher or a wise teacher, or a teacher cannot distinguish between a foolish disciple or a wise disciple. So this is unskilled in characteristics. Just like the cowherd, he does not know what is good breed, what is bad breed. Number 3, how does a monk fail to pick out flies' eggs? Here, when a thought of sensual desire has arisen, a monk tolerates it. He does not abandon it, remove it, do away with it, and annihilate it. When the thought of ill will has arisen, when the thought of cruelty has arisen, when evil, unwholesome states have arisen, a monk tolerates them. He does not abandon them, remove them, do away with them, and annihilate them. That is how a monk fails to pick out flies' eggs. Stop here for a moment. As I mentioned earlier, flies' eggs on the body of this cattle, if we don't remove them quickly, they will hatch into maggots, and the maggots will eat the flesh and kill the cattle. So in the same way, just like flies' eggs, and these unwholesome thoughts, if we tolerate them, they will proliferate. And then eat away all the goodness in us, and all the spiritual good in us will die out. So we, just like the flies' eggs, we have to know these unwholesome thoughts have the potential to do a lot of harm to us. Number 4, how does a monk fail to dress wounds? Here, on seeing a form with the eye, a monk grasps at its signs and features. Even though when he leaves the eye faculty unguarded, evil, unwholesome states of covetousness and greed might invade him. He does not practice the way of its restraint. He does not guard the eye faculty. He does not undertake the restraint of the eye faculty. On hearing a sound with the ear, smelling an odor with the nose, tasting a flavor with the tongue, touching a tangible with the body, cognizing a mind object with the mind, he grasps at its signs and features. Even though when he leaves the faculties unguarded, evil, unwholesome states of covetous and grief might invade him. He does not practice the way of their restraint. He does not guard the faculties. He does not undertake the restraint of the faculties. That is how a monk fails to dress wounds. Stop here for a moment. Here, our 6 senses are always stabbed, attacked by these objects of the senses, forms, sounds, smells, taste, touch, and thoughts. Because they impinge on us, just like a wound, they can fester. So we have to guard our faculties. So don't see too much, don't hear too much, don't smell too much, eat too much, etc. So for example, when you go Pindapata, don't look everywhere. Suppose when you go Pindapata, you're supposed to put your eye just 6 feet away from you, look down. When people offer you food also, and don't look at them in the face, unless you know them very well. Number 5, how does a monk fail to smoke out the shits? Here, a monk does not teach others in detail the Dhamma as he has learned it and mastered it. That is how a monk fails to smoke out the shits. So here, the Buddha is saying that a monk should teach the Dhamma to others, whatever Dhamma Vinaya he has learned. He should teach to others, so that we have a healthy sangha. Disinfect the sangha of wrong views. Number 6, how does a monk not know the watering place? Here a monk does not go from time to time to those monks who have learned much, who are well versed in the tradition, who maintain the Dhamma Vinaya, and he does not inquire and ask questions of them thus. How is this, Venerable Sir? What is the meaning of this? And these Venerable Ones do not reveal to him what has not been revealed, do not clarify what is not clear, or remove his doubts about the numerous things that give rise to doubt. That is how a monk does not know the watering place. How does stop here for a moment. So the watering place is a place where you can quench your thirst and drink water. In the same way, the watering place for monks is learned senior monks who know the Dhamma, who know the Vinaya. So if you don't know, you should go to these senior monks and clarify your doubts. How does a monk not know what it is to have drunk? Here, when the Dhamma Vinaya proclaimed by the Tathagata is being taught, a monk does not gain inspiration in the meaning, does not gain inspiration in the Dhamma, does not gain gladness connected with the Dhamma. That is how a monk does not know what it is to have drunk. Stop here for a moment. If you listen to the Dhamma and the Vinaya, you should gain inspiration and be glad and appreciate. There are some people, they maybe what is called their roots are too shallow. They don't have the what later books call the paramis, the good qualities. So when they meet the Dhamma, they don't appreciate that the Dhamma is so valuable, so good. There's nothing more valuable than the Dhamma. So they are not glad. They don't gain inspiration in the Dhamma. This is like the cattle. The cowherd doesn't know what it is to have drunk. How does a monk not know the road? Here a monk does not understand the Noble Eightfold Path as it actually is. That is how a monk does not know the road. So this is the spiritual road, the Noble Eightfold Path. How is a monk unskilled in pastures? Here a monk does not understand the 4 intense states of recollection as they actually are. That is how a monk is unskilled in pastures. A monk's domain, a monk's pasture, is the Buddha says, is the 4 satipatthana. The 4 satipatthana. We should put our attention always on either the body or the feelings or the mind or the Buddha Dhamma. These 4 objects of recollection. So we don't stray out of these 4 objects. That is staying within our pasture. How does a monk milk dry? Here, when faithful householders invite a monk to take as much as he likes of robes, alms, food, resting places, and medicinal requisites, the monk does not know moderation in accepting. That is how a monk milks dry. So, too greedy for these offerings. A monk milks dry and later he will not get any more. How does a monk show no extra veneration to those elder monks of long standing who have long gone forth, the fathers and leaders of the Sangha? Here a monk does not maintain bodily acts of loving kindness, both openly and privately towards those elder monks. He does not maintain verbal acts of loving kindness towards them, openly and privately. He does not maintain mental acts of loving kindness towards them, both openly and privately. That is how a monk shows no extra veneration to those elder monks of long standing who have long gone forth, the fathers and leaders of the Sangha. When a monk possesses these 11 qualities, he is incapable of growth, increase and fulfillment in this Dhamma Vinaya. So this last one is that a younger monk should always maintain loving kindness through acts, speech and mind towards senior monks, the fathers and leaders of the Sangha. In a Buddhist country like Thailand, they have this long-standing tradition. So the duty of young monks are to serve the older monks. Like for example, Samaneras have to serve all the monks. And then the young monks have to serve the senior monks. So it's very common in Thailand that the young monks sometimes they massage the old monk, even bathe for him, and then when he comes back from Pinapata, they wash his feet, take away his robe to dry, wash his robes for him, and serve him in many ways. All this is showing extra veneration to the senior monks. Monks, when a cowherd possesses 11 factors, he is capable of keeping and rearing a herd of cattle. What 11? Here a cowherd has knowledge of form. He is skilled in characteristics. He picks out flies' eggs. He dresses wounds. He smokes out the sheds. He knows the watering place. He knows what it is to have drunk. He knows the road. He is skilled in pastures, he does not milk dry, and he shows extra veneration to those bulls who are fathers and leaders of the herd. When a cowherd possesses these 11 factors, he is capable of keeping and rearing a herd of cattle. So too monks, when a monk possesses these 11 qualities, he is capable of growth, increase and fulfillment in this Dhamma Vinaya. What 11? Here a monk has knowledge of form, he is skilled in characteristics, he picks out flies, eggs, etc. So this reverse. A monk who has knowledge of form understands the four great elements. All material forms consist of four great elements. A monk who is skilled in characteristics understands a fool is characterized by his actions, wise man is characterized by his actions, and a monk who knows how to pick out flies' eggs when thoughts of sensual desire, ill will or cruelty have arisen, he does away with them, evil unwholesome states of mind. And then a monk who knows how to dress wounds, he guards his six senses. He does not grasp the signs and features of the sense objects. And then a monk who knows how to smoke out the sheds teaches to others in detail the Dhamma he has learned. And a monk who knows the watering place goes from time to time to learned monks to learn the Dhamma, the Vinaya. And a monk who knows what it is to have drunk, when he listens to the Dhamma and the Vinaya, he gains inspiration, gains gladness. A monk who knows the road understands the Four Noble Truths. A monk skilled in pastures understands the four intense states of recollection, the 4 satipatthana. A monk who does not milk dry, when he is offered requisites, he knows moderation in accepting. And then lastly, the monk shows extra veneration to the monks of long standing by maintaining acts of loving kindness to the body, speech and mind to them. When a monk possesses these 11 qualities, he is capable of growth, increase and fulfillment in this Dhamma Vinaya. That is what the Blessed One said. The monks were satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words. Number 34, Chula Gopalaka Sutta, the shorter discourse on the cowherd. Thus have I heard, on one occasion the Blessed One was living in the Vajan country of Ukachela on the banks of the river Ganges. There he addressed the monks thus, "Monks, Venerable Sir," they replied. The Blessed One said, "Monks, there was once a foolish Magadhan cowherd who in the last month of the rainy season, in the autumn, without examining the near shore or the further shore of the river Ganges, drove his cattle across to the other shore in the Videhan country at a place that had no ford. Then the cattle bunched together in midstream in the river Ganges, and they met with calamity and disaster. Why was that? Because that foolish Magadhan cowherd, in the last month of the rainy season, in the autumn, without examining the near shore or the further shore of the river Ganges, drove his cattle across to the other shore in the Videhan country at a place that had no ford." I stop here for a moment. Here the Buddha is talking about this cowherd who wants to bring all the cattle to the other side of the river. But at that time, the river is flooded because that is the rainy season, the last month of the rainy season. All the rivers are all flooded. And then without trying to find the shortest place to cross, the shortest place to cross is called the ford. In the river, there are places when the two sides of the river are far apart. There's places where the two sides of the river are nearer. That is called the ford. And the shallow, also where the water is shallower. And so instead of looking for the proper place and planning how to bring the cattle across, he just let them, just shoo them all into the river, and they all bunched together. You know, when they go into deep water, just like human beings, when we go into deep water, if those people have difficulty, when they feel that they are drowning, they try to climb on each other. So the same with the cattle, when they bunch together, they're all trying to get on top of each other and all drown. So the Buddha continued, "So too monks, as to those recluses and Brahmins who are unskilled in this world and the other world, unskilled in Mara's realm and what is outside Mara's realm, unskilled in the realm of death and what is outside the realm of death, it will lead to the harm and suffering for a long time of those who think they should listen to them and place faith in them." So here in the similar way, the Buddha says, just like the stupid cattle herd, because the cattle trust him, so they all perish. So in the same way, if we place our faith in those monks who are unskilled in this world and the other world, that means unskilled in the Dhamma, and you listen to those monks, take them as your teacher, then that will lead to your harm and suffering for a long time. "Monks, there was once a wise Magadhan cowherd who in the last month of the rainy season, in the autumn, after examining the near shore and the further shore of the river Ganges, drove his cattle across to the other shore in the Videhan country at a place that had a ford. He made the bulls, the fathers and leaders of the herd, enter first, and they breasted the stream of the Ganges and got safely across to the further shore. He made the strong cattle and the cattle to be tamed enter next, and they too breasted the stream of the Ganges and got safely across to the further shore. He made the heifers and the young oxen enter next, and they too breasted the stream of the Ganges and got safely across to the other shore. He made the calves and the feeble cattle enter next, and they too breasted the stream of the Ganges and got safely across to the further shore. At that time there was a tender calf just born, and being urged on by its mother's lowing, it too breasted the stream of the Ganges and got safely across to the further shore. Why was that? Because that wise Magadhan cowherd, in the last month of the rainy season, in the autumn, after examining the near shore and the further shore of the river Ganges, drove his cattle across to the other shore in the Videhan country at a place that had a ford. So too monks, as to those recluses and Brahmins who are skilled in this world and the other world, skilled in Mara's realm and what is outside Mara's realm, skilled in the realm of death and what is outside the realm of death, it will lead to the welfare and happiness for a long time of those who think they should listen to them and place faith in them. So in a similar way, the Buddha says, just like the cattle, they relied on this wise cowherd, and they got safely across. So in the same way, if we rely on a wise teacher, then it will lead to our welfare and happiness for a long time. But then to know whether a teacher is good or not, you also it takes time to know, and you also have to be quite sharp. Monks, just as the bulls, the fathers and leaders of the herd, breasted the stream of the Ganges and got safely across to the further shore, so too those monks who are arahants, with taints destroyed, who have lived the holy life, done what had to be done, laid down the burden, reached the true goal, destroyed the fetters of being, and are completely liberated through final knowledge. By breasting Mara stream, they have gotten safely across to the further shore. Just as the strong cattle and the cattle to be tamed breasted the stream of the Ganges and got safely across to the further shore, so too those monks who, with the destruction of the 5 lower fetters, will reappear spontaneously in the pure abodes and there attain final Nibbana without ever returning from that world. By breasting Mara stream, they will get safely across to the further shore. Just as the heifers and young oxen breasted the stream of the Ganges and got safely across to the further shore, so too those monks who, with the destruction of the 3 fetters and with the attenuation of lust, hatred and delusion, are once returners, Sakadagamin, returning once to this world to make an end of suffering. By breasting Mara stream, they too will get safely across to the further shore. Just as the calves and the feeble cattle breasted the stream of the Ganges and got safely across to the further shore, so too those monks who, with the destruction of 3 fetters, are stream enterers, Sotapanna, no longer subject to perdition, bound for deliverance, headed for enlightenment. By breasting Mara stream, they too will get safely across to the further shore. Just as that tender calf just born, being urged on by its mother's lowing, also breasted the stream of the Ganges and got safely across to the further shore, so too those monks who are Dhamma followers and faith followers, that means first path attainers, by breasting Mara stream, they too will get safely across to the further shore. Monks, I am skilled in this world and in the other world, skilled in Mara's realm and in what is outside Mara's realm, skilled in the realm of death and in what is outside the realm of death. It will lead to the welfare and happiness for a long time of those who think they should listen to me and place faith in me. That is what the Blessed One said. When the Sublime One had said that, the teacher said further, both this world and the world beyond are well described by the one who knows, and what is still in Mara's reach and what is out of reach of death. Knowing directly all the world, the enlightened one who understands opened the door to the deathless state, by which Nibbana may be safely reached. For Mara's stream is breasted now, its current blocked, its reeds removed. Rejoice then, monks, mightily, and set your hearts where safety lies. So that's the end of the sutta. So here the Buddha is saying that we should place our faith in the Buddha and only the Buddha. That's why when the Buddha was about to enter Nibbana, instead of nominating another monk to take his place, he told the monks that after he's gone, that everyone should take the Dhamma and the Vinaya that the Buddha has taught to be our teacher. Unfortunately nowadays, a lot of people, instead of studying the Buddha's words, they rely on some teacher. Then he is just like relying on some foolish Cowherd. The Buddha says that whatever any other monk teaches, we should compare them with the suttas and the Vinaya. Only if they agree with the suttas and the Vinaya, then only we can accept them. So the Buddha also said, be a lamb unto yourselves, be a refuge unto yourselves, with no other refuge. Take the Dhamma as your lamb, take the Dhamma as your refuge, with no other refuge. So don't go and look for some heroes to worship. The best teacher in the world is the Buddha. And now that he has gone, the Buddha says his Dhamma and his Vinaya will be our teacher. So the Buddha said always study the suttas. The Buddha gave a warning in Samyutta Nikaya 20.7. Said that in the future, instead of listening to the Buddha's words, people want to listen to the words of later monks, disciples. Disciples refers to later monks, meaning later books. And these later books are either in Mahayana or Hinayana. Mahayana are the later sutras. Hinayana are the Abhidhamma, the commentaries, Visuddhimagga, and all that. So the Buddha says in the Digha Nikaya Sutta 29, Pasadika Sutta, that all those are not necessary because the Buddha's teachings are perfect, complete, and utterly pure. And since it is complete, we don't need to rely on any other teacher. Our only teacher is the Buddha. And if we think that we should rely on other books, the Buddha says that we don't understand his Dhamma. So if you understand the Buddha's Dhamma, you only rely on the suttas. And for monks, the Vinaya also. So then it will benefit us a long time if we put our faith in the right teacher. So I stop here.
Bhante, thanks again for enlightening Dhamma talk. So the question is, when it says in that sutta to follow a teacher, obviously the Buddha is referring to himself. But yes, we have all the Dhamma books, which is great, and they're all great. But how does that fit in with someone who wants to, I mean, having a guide is also very helpful.
Yes.
Because he also says you must revere the senior monks because they're the fathers of the Sangha.
Not only that, the Buddha says a Kalyana Mitta, a spiritual guide or a spiritual teacher is the whole of the holy life. Is the whole of the holy life. But so, of course, the best spiritual guide is the Buddha. But since the Buddha is not here, you also need someone who can point out to you what is the real teaching of the Buddha. Otherwise, you might, because there's so much wrong teachings nowadays. A lot of things that are taught to be the Dhamma, taught to be the Buddha's teachings, is actually not the Buddha's teachings. So you need someone to guide you to the correct teachings.
Thank you.
Sutta 33, paragraph 8. How does a monk fail to smoke out the shares? So it says that a monk does not teach others in detail the Dhamma as he has learned and mastered it. And does it apply, just these qualities, does it apply to all monks? Because some monks, they do not teach at all.
Yes. This is the ideal. This is the ideal. So, but here the Buddha is talking about you see, one of the occasions or one of the moments a monk becomes enlightened. One is listening to the Dhamma, another one is teaching the Dhamma, another one is repeating the Dhamma, another one is reflecting on the Dhamma. The fifth is during meditation. So when a monk teaches the Dhamma, he has to understand first before he can teach. Also, when he's teaching the Dhamma, he has to consider the Dhamma, reflect on the Dhamma and then teach. So it benefits the monk who teaches also, and the people who listen also. So it is best if a monk knows the Dhamma to teach. But the problem is, especially nowadays, a lot of monks don't take the trouble to go and study the Dhamma. They think only meditation is important. That's a wrong view they have probably obtained from their meditation teacher. You notice in the suttas, every night the monks during the Buddha's time, they come together to discuss the Dhamma. Even if they are already arahants, like just now we saw all the arahants coming together, Venerable Sariputta, Venerable Mahamoggallana, Venerable Mahakassapa, Venerable Anuruddha, Venerable Ananda, Venerable Revata. Except for Venerable Ananda, I think the rest were all arahants. And yet they come and discuss the Dhamma. Because firstly, they have so much respect for the Dhamma. Secondly, they enjoy discussing the Dhamma. The Buddha says two things are important. One is Dhamma Savana, the other one is Dhamma Sakacca. Listening to the Dhamma and discussion of the Dhamma. When we discuss the Dhamma, we benefit. We analyze the Dhamma. We not only benefit, we benefit others also. Those who know less, by discussing Dhamma, they know more. Those who know more, when they discuss the Dhamma, they benefit others, as well as they reflect on the Dhamma and they benefit also. They understand more.
This question is from Samanera Jojo. He wants to know, in this case, what about the Pacceka Buddha who don't teach?
Oh, Pacceka Buddhas, to me, Pacceka Buddhas, firstly, they are past life Arya. They have already attained Sotapanna or Sakadagamin, first or second fruition. So they come back, and they come back at the time when there is no more Dhamma in the world. So they have to struggle very hard. So that their memory comes back. When the memory comes back of previous lives, then remember all the Dhamma they have learned, then they become enlightened. And after they become enlightened, when they want to teach, they find so much obstruction, people are not interested. And then when you teach the Dhamma, you have to contradict what other teachers say, That's why when the Buddha taught, he created a lot of enemies. That's why in the Sutta, the Buddha said, I don't quarrel with the world. The world quarrels with me. He who teaches the Dhamma does not quarrel with the world. So, because of all these things, Pacceka Buddha, even though he is qualified to teach, even though he is capable of teaching, he doesn't want to teach. Unless maybe someone appeals to him, like Brahma Sahampati appeals to him. Otherwise, he's not interested to teach. So 99.99% of Buddhas are Pacceka Buddhas who refuse to teach. But then, even though they refuse to teach, they show an example to the world. He showed an example, just like we read that sutta about the three arahants practicing in the park, and then the devas shouted that they have become liberated. All the devas shouting. So the Buddha says they benefit all those people who have faith in them.
I have an observation. This Venerable Mahamoggallana, although he is mentioned many places by others that he's got psychic powers, but for him he is humble and wouldn't want to use that.
Yeah.
So I think this is a very strong characteristic.
Yes, arahants. Each arahant, firstly, all arahants are extremely humble. But then, even though they are humble, each person, we have our own character. We have our own character. So you find, for example, Venerable Ananda was very much a ladies' man. A lot of people like his company. Everybody likes to talk to him, and he's happy to talk to people. But Venerable Mahakassapa appears very rough in his speech. He even tells off Venerable Ananda, call him a small boy when he was 80 years old. Says Venerable Ananda walking, what are you doing walking around the whole countryside now with a huge following of monks? You're trampling on people's crops and all that. Small boy, call him. So you see, he's already become an arahant. He has no ego. So it's not that he speaks out of ego, just that his habit over so many lifetimes has been like that. That's why this you can't believe in these paramis. Paramis means a person has developed so many perfections. But this enlightened person, you can see he in that sense he lacks that parami or speaking gently. Can we transfer merit?